Hello everyone, my name is Prachi and welcome to the very first episode of PropSutras, a podcast where we discuss all things real estate, hospitality, infrastructure and much more. PropSutras is presented by Prop News Time, a digital platform where we deliver real estate news to help stakeholders connect and explore opportunities. Similarly, our guest today is Mr. Balaji Rao, a real estate veteran with over 35 years of experience in residential, commercial and retail sector. He's worked on everything from land acquisition to property development and financing and funding. Thank you so much for joining us, sir, today.
Thank you, Prachi. It's my pleasure and privilege to get this platform for my PropSutra series. I have been in real estate, as you rightly said, for over 3 decades, and have covered all dimensions of real estate, right from the asset classes, as you said, described residential, commercial, retail, hospitality, as well as the geographical dispersion across India, across all the cities of India, and also all the functionalities, whether it is development, funding, financing, sales, name it. And I thought it was a good time for me to transfer this knowledge via this series, which your platform has kindly agreed to host, all what we have garnered and gathered over the years in the pursuit of this success in real estate. So I think it's been quite a journey, and I'm really thankful to Prop News Time for giving me this opportunity to host this.
Thank you, sir. So we'll dive right in. So the real estate sector is at a very interesting crossroads. Like from a investor's perspective, the market is increasing rapidly. So with your experience, so what can you tell about the current state of affairs when it comes to real estate?
Real estate has always been a very staid and stable sector for the last few decades. But most people forget it is one of the largest contributors to the GDP and the national economy. So I consider real estate to be one of the main driving forces in uplifting this country's economy as well as all its population. So if you're asking me whether we are seeing a watershed year in real estate, yes. I think we saw one in real estate post liberalization in 1991. And I think right now, as we are talking 30 years later, we are seeing another watershed coming about in real estate when it is truly gaining prominence. And I think all authorities are understanding that this is going to be the largest driving force, positive factor in uplifting the masses because it's a great employment generator. It is allied to more than 250 plus industries. So when real estate does well, then the general economy does well. And most importantly, it's domestic oriented. You're not dependent on exports and imports to keep this industry going. One of the factors which most people don't understand that drives real estate is urbanization. What is urbanization? Urbanization is the ratio of the population who live in urban cities as compared to being in the rural countryside. In the world, the average urbanization as we speak is around 56%. In India, it is 36%. For any developed country, if you take a US or UK or any of the Scandinavian countries, you will realize that urbanization is usually over 80%. Even in a developing country like Brazil, it's over 80%. So we believe that a country, if it has to develop and have a high growth of GDP, the urbanization has to come up. That means from the current rate of 36%, we need to at least cross 50. Once we cross 50, we will see more rapid urbanization. And urbanization is nothing but real estate demand and supply in a way.
So now that you spoke about real estate demand and supply, over the years the cycle has been very, the real estate market has been very cyclical because of the inevitable loss So, what would be your take on the cyclical nature of it?
See, real estate cycles are no different from economic cycles. They will always be ups and downs. And our research has shown that real estate cycles are generally in the range of 10 to 12 years. That means in a 10 to 12-year period, you cover the entire cycle where it goes up, comes down, plateaus, and comes back to reset. So I believe that cycle will go on. I don't see why the cycles will change because of real estate growth. But what is going to happen is the overall growth of the industry as urbanization kicks in more and more. So you will see far more of throughput in real estate, far more employment generated in real estate.
So, sir, we'll now take a deeper dive into the anatomy of real estate. What are the assets that we can explore and the market trends?
See, real estate basically is 80% residential. And that I don't see will change because when you talk about urbanization, it's like the roti kapda or makan. Everybody needs a roof. And funnily, especially in Bombay and most other cities also, a substantial portion of a population, I would put it around 40 to 50%, live in shanties, temporary settlements, what you call chawls or slums or whatever it is. And that's not good. That has to change. So, if it has to change, that means you need people to develop housing for all the segments from luxury to the affordable to the low income, whatever it is. So, residential sector, to answer your question, would always be the pivot of real estate because that is the biggest elephant in the room. So the rest of the sectors are much smaller when you talk about an office sector, when you talk about the industrial warehousing sector, when you talk about, let's say, data centers today, which is the buzzword, when you talk about retail, when you talk about hotels or hospitality, these are much, much, much smaller. What is really the elephant in the room is the residential
Residential.
sector. So that will always be growing. And most bets are usually placed on the residential sector.
So now, sir, real estate isn't just about property, right? Location is considered key. And recently, some cities and regions have outperformed because of infrastructure development. In your opinion, do you think infrastructure growth matters for for real estate? And which cities and regions do you think may outperform in the coming years?
Good question, Prachi. But look at it this way: real estate comprises of what we call built up environment, what you build. But the built up environment cannot be in isolation, it has to be connected. So, what is the connectivity? The connectivity is what we call infrastructure. Whether I bring a road in, whether I bring a power line in, whether I bring sewage, drainage, water lines. So that is the connectivity. Without connectivity, real estate has no meaning. It's like having something in isolation and it's not going to work. So real estate and infrastructure always go hand
Hand
in
in
hand.
hand.
You understand? So if you look at the components of success for real estate will be what you're built, how well is it infrastructured, and then finally, the testing, the acid test of real estate is what is the gentry it is attracting. So, if it attracts a very premium sort of gentry, rich people, luxury people, that pin code, that micro location shoots through the roof. So, you think of a central London, or you think of Malabar Hill, or you think of Banjara Hills in Hyderabad, or Lutyens Bungalow Zone in Delhi. These are areas with a premium and luxury because of not just the built up environment, not just because of the infrastructure connectivity, but finally it passed the acid test of what I call getting the right gentrification. It attracted the right gentry, if for whatever reason we believe is the right gentry. So there's segmentation. So you will have the rich and the luxury living, you will have the middle class, and you will also have the mass markets. So for any real estate, for any developer, he's always trying to move up to the luxury because that's where he believes the margins are the best. And that's one of the reasons why real estate markets go skewed. Because as soon as we see that there's buoyancy in the market, developers tend to move more towards luxury because that's where the margins are higher. But technically, real estate comprises all the three. It comprises of infrastructure connectivity, and finally, the test of it comes in the people it attracts to those places.
But any city or region that you see having an exponential growth over the coming years?
The city or region which will grow exponentially will always be the one which is having a lot of infrastructure being planned. For example, sitting in Mumbai, where we will be slightly biased towards, there is a lot of infrastructure which is going into Mumbai, for example. Not just a new airport, not just the multiple metro lines we are planning, coastal roads. When you put it all together, the infrastructure which is being planned in MMR is a substantial chunk of the infrastructure of the whole country. At one time, it was nearly 35 to 40%. It had, and I think it's still substantially high. So any city which is going to enjoy a lot of infrastructure in it is bound to be a precursor for you to say that in the future it will be more and more successful, because that's what first drives the growth of real estate. But having said that, when we look at NCR, when we look at Bangalore, when we look at Kolkata, when we look at Chennai, everybody is trying to catch up. There's no doubt about that. But the infrastructure will be the key driver towards real estate growth. So if you think of even a tier 2 city like an Indore or a Coimbatore or a Cochin, all you have to do is to picture as to what is the infrastructure growth in that particular area to figure out whether it will be successful. Any city or any region where there's no infrastructure can't be successful in the future.
All right, sir. So, apart from property, real estate also attracts a lot of career opportunities for young professionals or maybe anyone for that matter. So, do you think it's important for people to get aware about that? And there are, if you could share career opportunities that would attract people?
Correct. Uh, it's a very, very insightful question in the sense that today most youngsters and employment opportunities are in what we call the technology sector because it seems to be so exciting and it is the frontier of development. And real estate looks as diametrically opposite to technology as one can think because this is all about physical bricks and mortars. But that's not the truth. There is a convergence. In real estate, also, there is a lot of technology which is going in. As a domain, as a sector, I truly believe this is the sector which will provide the most number of employment opportunities going forward, more than any other sector. So, for any young person to try and get into this domain will be a beautiful, positive bet. There's no doubt. Because this is the sector which requires talent, it requires skill, it requires energy and enthusiasm, which is provided or that is provided by the youth. And they need to come into this sector. However, this sector lacks glamour. It is not glamorous and it hasn't got the best of people over the years because that's why people think it's a sort of a black hole and there's a lot of murky transactions and all that. Maybe, but it's all been cleaned up. Today, as we talk, as I said, there's a watershed. You're talking about a very digitized real estate. Your land holdings are getting digitized. There's a lot of technology in construction. Your sales, everything is going digital. Today you can literally sell online if you want, only because you do have the ability to give someone a virtual tour of a project. An augmented reality will help him understand what he's buying, so it's very possible. So all this is making the real estate and technology come together and making it a very sunrise sector for employment.
So, alongside growth, sir, do you see the pool of real estate stakeholders and professionals growing? And if yes, why so?
See, if the sector is growing, then naturally there will be growth. There will be employment opportunities, there will be salary rises, there will be everything because the sector is growing. If the sector is dormant or declining, then naturally there's no growth. So I do believe, as if I'm saying the real estate sector is on the growth path, there will be more employment opportunities, there'll be higher salaries, there'll be higher take homes. So I'm quite positive from a employment business, professional point of view, whichever way you look at it, this will be one of the most dominant sectors in the coming decade, especially for a country like India.
All right, that's a wrap for the first episode of PropSutra. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to get more content related to real estate. And don't forget to press the bell icon for more updates.